While it may not have touched an audiophile nerve in me, it did solve a very specific problem I had, and it did it for under $100. The JAMO S808 subwoofer. So right now, as of this taping, the JAMO S808 8-inch subwoofer can be had for $93 a quarter and 2 pennies. But we'll get to the subwoofer in just a second. First, let's talk about the problem I had. Last year, I went on a short but frustrating journey to find a soundbar for my living room television. At the time, a 75-inch Sony, pretty much the bottom of the line, edge-lit Sony television, but I wanted to improve the sound. I returned so many subwoofers after auditioning them that I thought I was going to lose my Platinum Reward Zone status. And that's when I found the Fives by Klipsch on sale through a big box store online for around $400 at the time, and then they went up to about $500. But they came in a basic stripped down black, we'll call it satin finish. Kind of nice actually, but not like the wood grain vinyl wrap that they were selling on the Klipsch website for sometimes over $1,000. So I feel like I'd gotten a good value. The only problem with the Klipsch, well, there was a couple. First, the bass was a little chuffy, a little boomy, depending on how they were placed. Bass can be a good thing, and they definitely punched above their weight in that department, though it wasn't always clean, it wasn't always clear. And the Klipsch Connect app hadn't been fully developed at that time, so there was no way to really adjust it. Now the Klipsch Connect app has been updated and improved with all kinds of custom EQ settings and other goodies in there, and it has really helped improve the sound of the Klipsch the Fives. The Klipsch the Fives? Is that right? The Klipsch the Fives. It sounds weird, but yes, the Klipsch the Fives. Now, when it came to the bass, a lot of folks had found that just by plugging in an RCA cable into the subwoofer output would put the speaker into LFE, I guess, and cut down a lot of that boomy bass and make things a lot clearer. That was kind of the early fix for a lot of people. I figure if I was going to plug something into the subwoofer output, it might as well be a subwoofer and not just a cable leading to nowhere. So the other day I was on Amazon and noticed the S808 by JAMO on sale for $93.27. I think it carries a list price of about $249. So I popped on it immediately. Here's what it looks like coming out of the box. You know, it's really quite pleasant to look at. I was trying to avoid a big cube in my living room. A lot of subwoofers come in that form. Or if you get a soundbar, yeah, they come in this cereal box, boot box kind of form factor, but usually in all black. I opted for the walnut vinyl veneer, I guess you would call it. I'm glad I went that route. And though it's not a exact match of my wood flooring or even some of my cabinetry, it was nice to have that spot of color and distinguish it from the rest of those black boxes out there. According to the specs, this is an 8-inch woofer. It actually measures at about 6.5 inches with 1.5 inches of waveguide surrounding it. But we'll call it 8. That's what's on the spec sheet. There's also a 10-inch version. I have affiliate links below if you're interested in looking at some of this equipment. So besides the form factor, there are some differences with this JAMO S808 subwoofer. The amplifier is underneath, and all the controls underneath the subwoofer, as is the port. Now it comes with some beefy rubber feet that you can put on it. I don't think there were any included spikes for carpet, but some rather chunky round rubber feet that you can apply. The amplifier controls are underneath, and that does pose a little bit of an inconvenience, but once everything's dialed in, I think you're going to be okay. For my purposes, I set the volume somewhere between 35 and 50%. I set the crossover at around 80, 90 hertz, and I had the phase at 0. Phase on subwoofers has always confused me a little bit, but I figured since all the drivers from the Klipsch 5s and the subwoofer were firing in the same direction and almost on the same plane, I was pretty safe at keeping it at 0, and my results were pretty good. I would say one good thing about the amplifier being on the bottom is that it gives you many more options for placement. You can place it on its side, on its edge, on its feet, on its head. It doesn't really, well, I don't know about on the head, but it doesn't really matter with this subwoofer. You've got basically 5 planes there that you can expose and not have to worry about the amplifier being visible. And as far as performance, like I said at the beginning, this isn't actually an audiophile kind of unit, but it did serve a very specific purpose for me. I didn't want something cumbersome, something cubey, something really just outrageous and bombastic in my living room. This fit in rather nicely and filled out the sound nicely. It took away some of the boominess of the woofers from the 5s, directing all the resources to the upper registers of the frequency and sending the lower registers to the sub, and it did rather well. This is not going to knock you off your feet. It's not like going to a Dolby Atmos cinema or anything like that. I was quite pleased, and I put it through its paces watching the Blu-ray from Top Gun, and it did rather well. There were some moments in the film, and I don't know if it was because I was doing the Atmos mix over 2-channel. It's really the only option. But some of the dialogue in the fight scenes was hard to understand, and that's probably to be expected in a scene like that, but it really didn't detract that much from the experience. So I would say all in all, for under $100, and I would imagine that the price through the holidays is probably going to fluctuate up and down. Hopefully you can get the same deal that I got for this. It'd be perfect for an office setting, maybe a bedroom system setting. I was really quite pleased for what I got for under $100. At $249, not so sure how I would feel. I'd probably have other options. This is not an SVS, this is not a REL, this is a JAMO $93 today subwoofer. So I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you can get your hands on one. Until next time, I'll see you in the media room.